Welcome back. We're doing some more Xenoblade for the first time in a while. If you're new here, I'm Silvermuse, or at least that's my channel name, and I like to play classical piano music and write some of it too, and just generally study it, kind of have an obsession. But I like all kinds of music, huge history with games, and I've been having a lot of fun going through the Xenoblade soundtrack so far. I've actually done, I don't know, maybe a dozen, maybe more tracks so far on the channel, and we're getting to currently the most requested one left, of which I will eventually do a few versions of. We're going to look at Moebius Battle. Pretty excited because it's one I actually have 10 different requests for so far. Through that, I've learned a little bit about the different versions of the track and the similarly named track called Moebius, which is quite different. Looking on the soundtrack, there is Mitsuda's track Moebius, and there's the Moebius Battle ones, including the M version by the Ace team, who are Tomori Kudo and Chiko, but also Kenji Hiramatsu. I guess normally they're called Ace Plus after Kenji joined them, but I'm not positive if these tracks are by Ace Plus or not. Generally, in the information I see, it's just credited to Ace, which would not include Hiramatsu, but I imagine it probably still does, but not sure because he also has solo credit for other tracks. So I don't know at the moment. Somebody can definitely fill me in on the comments whether or not Hiramatsu is part of the Moebius Battle tracks. Yeah, apparently Mitsuda's Moebius is quite different. I imagine Moebius is either a concept or a character. I really haven't looked at her. I'm not even looking at it right now while I move my mouse over it. Moebius probably either a character or protagonist or antagonist, or maybe just a concept or a place. So I'm not surprised that there are tracks that share that word, despite being different. Apparently the M version is maybe a later sort of remixed version of the original battle track. Eventually I'll look at all three of them because people definitely have asked for all of them, but the one just directly titled Moebius Battle, that's what we're going to do today. I don't really have an expectation what this is going to be, other than probably, you know, I mean, I do expect an intense battle track, whether that means it's going to be really rock heavy, whether it's going to be orchestral, melodic focused, obviously a high tempo. Actually, I was recently watching Masahiro Sakurai's entire game making channel, all his playlists about game music, and he has some really great advice around tempo. Definitely as somebody who has worked so hard on fighting games for so long with the Smash Bros. Series, and arranging so much music and working with so many composers, probably more than anybody has ever worked with. He oftentimes gives direction around tempo because if you're fighting, kind of feels like tempo needs to match the gameplay a little bit. So yeah, I'm definitely expecting just that popped into my head as a point of reference here. Something fast tempo, but orchestration or instrumentation wise, really no idea. So we'll find out. Okay. Wow, that was held a long time. Okay, we're getting choir and rock. Couldn't possibly get any more dramatic. Jesus. Oh my god. What a build-up. I love this climb. We're gonna climb again. What do we move into? Ooh, okay. Cool chord to end on. Okay, I'm gonna have to stop it right there. We made it exactly 1 minute. Obviously want to talk a little bit about what we've heard so far. As I always say, introductions are very important. Piece really sets its tone. So we get this incredibly dramatic choir, and they really hold that last note for so much longer than I expected. Really let the tension just lay there for so long, and then we bring in some of this rock band instrumentation, which is something I kind of expected as a JRPG battle track just in general, and was kind of hoping for, to be honest. Of course, a super epic combination, and honestly, I kind of lean a little bit towards like preferring the like dramatic huge choir with rock or metal instruments versus like just the overuse of like the deep blaring brass and the super bass, like the sort of, you know, Inception, Dark Knight kind of inspired epic soundtrack music. I kind of prefer this actually to that. If you're gonna go as dramatic as possible with a choir. I think this is cooler, like, and is less cliched. The other way can definitely make masterpieces of tracks as well, but it can be sometimes a bit of a crutch for like epic music. I feel like this is more epic in a more genuine way. But man, there's something I really wanted to mention, which is that it really has this incredible like wailing, kind of almost siren sense in the background. I'm going to play some of it back and look for it. It was when it really got going after the intro. Yeah, I think it's just got the whole string section kind of glissandoing up and doing this kind of like, you know, air raid siren kind of feel. I know some other tracks, even some tracks in like rock or metal that do a similar thing. The song Reapers by Muse, they have sort of a breakdown that has like this air raid siren in the background. There's something really like intense about it, and the fact that it's done, pretty sure this is just done with the strings. Yeah, and the strings definitely climb all the way up to the top in that treble area before it leads in. It just builds like a really frenzied sense of tension and kind of panic. If this is in really intense fights that you're actually quite concerned about, then it's really perfect. It seems like it's probably more of a track used repeatedly in different battles rather than one for just one single boss. Maybe the M version is for a single boss. I don't know how you would make it more intense than this. I don't know how you could remix this into like an actually more dramatic track. This is kind of like peak already as far as that energy goes. So like, how would you make it more? To me, like, it seems like this is a track used in different battles, but it would be also perfect for just one really terrifying boss. You know, this is almost like, you know, Sephiroth kind of like boss battle energy. You know, something that you've been dreading for a long time. You know, as you finally approach it, it's really scary and you really don't think you're going to win. But yeah, just those glissandoing upward strings built so much awesome tension. And then we have this great rhythm. And it just kind of, it keeps going up, ends diatonically with those choir notes, and then comes back down, does the same build, but ends on a different harmony. It moves into the next section, which I really appreciate. So I'm just going to listen through from, we're at 45 seconds, and I stopped at a minute before. I'll just pass through there. Yeah, it steps up a little bit differently there, a whole step where you would have expected a half. Get a low counter melody. Haven't mentioned the percussion yet, but it's been incredible as a support. Get some cowbell in the background. Need more of that. Fun little drum fill. Really strong, like, kind of rock style melodies. Same build as before, but it feels different and jumps down a little quicker. Kind of an inversion of that. Ooh, damn, that sounds cool. Yes. Just that crunchy electronic sound. Ooh, those male voices, those tenors jumping in just a little bit. Alright, this is some good shit right here. Alright, I'm gonna stop it there. We're 2.5 minutes in. That section was brilliant, my god. We got these, you know, we had sort of a similar similar choir sound throughout the whole thing so far, and then these just tenor male voices jump in with just these little staccato notes a little bit, and then it almost like teases us that we're going to get some different sections of vocalists, and we do. So it sort of teases them a little bit. Yeah, you can kind of hear the little bit lower voices just punctuating it just a little bit. It's quite faint. but it's kind of the first time I think that we really hear like a contrast in the types of voices we're hearing. And then we obviously get a ton of that coming up. Kind of bounces back and forth. Great little guitar fill going downward. Sorry, bass guitar. And get this fun little just diatonic downward scaler just going down the first 5 notes. And then we get these four note rising things that come in sequence afterwards. So we get the one first, the da 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 da. And then we get them both happening at the same time, so they're going in opposite directions. Wow, it sounds so full. Some great chords. Ooh, this melody again, but it sounds even better right here. Maybe it's the same, but something about it sounds nicer to me. Pretty sick drop. Kind of a tease, though. We don't actually go all the way back in. Well, there's the blaring horns I was talking about earlier, but it's not quite used on its own. Ooh. Kind of tuba squeal. I love the sound being used percussively there. It's almost like a breath. Man. I'm really into this low section. Just the combination of a few elements sounds incredible. Yeah, just those dramatic, reverberating hits. Just tension with just that one violin up there. Crescendoing. Do they actually give us what we want? Yep, and we're back. Alright, I gotta stop it somewhere, but it's hard to. Okay, so we're sort of back to a section, I think a section we know. This would be about where the loop point would be, but I'm not convinced that it is a loop, so I'm just gonna still continue with the rest of it. Man, I really like... It's funny, I was talking at the beginning a little bit about the whole like Inception Dark Knight kind of like, you know, deep blaring brass and like kind of bass register melodies, and we actually get that here, but we've been doing the other thing for the rest of the track, and then we finally kind of come, and now we have it. But I kind of like that it's not all the track is doing. It's doing a mix of things to where, like, because you've been enjoying a bit of a different approach with the rock and metal stuff for a while, when you get this, it feels like a contrast. It's not the same feel as if the track just opened with that and that was all it did. It's actually nice to... I was like catching myself just like kind of ironically how much I love this part in the context of this track, and yet before the track started or near the beginning I was talking about how like that combination I don't like as much. But I was like, but I love it right now. What's happening? It's just the context of when it's placed. It's within a different piece of music, and it's not the whole thing. But I love just this new melody we got through here. I want to find it. It told me to jump back in fully. Yeah, just the you know, the slow kind of, you know, bar by bar bass motion that sort of forms its own counterpoint melody. It just sounds really good, and it feels new in the track, and it just harmonizes really well, just super satisfying. Yeah, it's really just like that sort of root motion forming a melody, but I think it sounds awesome, especially because it's a different, like, it's debatable whether that's the main melodic content going on there, but to me it feels like it. It's where my attention goes. Like, there's oftentimes a bass motion or sort of counterpoint where the root's actually going while there's other melodic material present in a piece of music. And you could say that it's sort of like there's multiple melodies at the same time. You could just say it's counterpoint. You could just say it's part of the vertical slice of the harmony. So it's kind of like subjective how much you feel different things show up in your mind more. There's some like music theory ways to get a little bit more objective about it for sure. But in this case, it just feels like the main thing going on because it sort of drops out the other melodic content more and everything's in support of it. So it lets you really enjoy that bass melody going on. I just love it. Now we're getting the choir alternating with this percussion, which I don't think has happened before yet, and it sounds pretty cool. Damn, that sounds fucking massive. Ooh, I love that downward shape. Kind of choir arpeggio. Ooh, we get this from before, but there's a tail on it now. Yeah, we're getting this the last two notes at the end that step back up are kind of added from the shape that we got to enjoy earlier in that section where you had the sort of downwards and upwards shapes. This is sort of the downwards 5. But yeah, it gets this little tail of 2 notes at the end. It's just really cool because again, it's been an earworm in the other way, and now you hear it differently, and it really stands out. You know, it becomes hard to miss that it's done something new, and that makes it fun to follow along. So definitely not looping. This is definitely not a half and half looped track for 8.5 minutes. This is certainly new stuff 5 minutes in, which is great. We have more to enjoy. A little bit more of the low instrumentation. I love that guitar step up. It sounds so good. That's so cool. Ooh, I love the drums here. Oh, what a drum beat. That's sick. Really get to enjoy the percussion times like this. Ooh, some brand new strings melodies with the male voices. Wow, that's fun. Ooh, sounds so different from the rest. Okay, so we get some great, just completely different uses of some voices, a little bit of brand new instrumentation at some parts, some sections where you really just get to focus on how great the drumming is. Like, curious kind of who the drummer is on these recordings. I mean, there's, you know, loads of unbelievable, like, just session drummers around the world. Still, you know, props to whoever it is. They're doing a fantastic job. And I imagine usually they're kind of shaping what the drum fills and what the beats are, you know, as the actual musician there. That's one of the areas that it's hard not to be very collaborative, just because like the nature of drumming is, I don't know, just less often directly composed, especially by a non-drummer who's a composer. They're oftentimes going to more lean on the musician to sort of come up with a bit of what exactly the patterns are. Just so often this track, they're kind of the star of the show, to be honest. But yeah, we're really using the choir voices differently. For the first time, had this kind of like jumpy back and forth nature, which is so cool again, because it's just a texture that you haven't really had throughout all the usage we've gotten. But I'm going to back up like 20 seconds or so and enjoy this again, and then keep going. Yeah, we get kind of that bass guitar adding a layer there that was sort of new. Yeah, it's still there. stepping down root note sounds great. Get these staccato choir hits. Ooh. Back up. Okay, that was so cool. So at the beginning, we got that siren-like sound from the just upwards glissandoing strings all the way to the top, and we kind of get that at the end there, but it's after they've done this really fluttery, kind of tremolo glissando downwards, resumes going upwards, which is so neat. I mean, it sounds sick. I'm sure everybody knows this part and enjoys it and probably wants to know what people think of it, but it's so good. I want to get to it again, right here. When we start going back up. Incredible way to build tension. That's how you approach a drop in a orchestral rock track. I love that chord. Once again, the drumming is just so good. Great melody here. Oh, this is so satisfying. That low, just that sort of downwards motion of the melody, that lowest note is just so poignant. I feel like a lot of the Xenoblade Chronicles soundtrack sort of melodic writing approach, particularly I think from Ace, they kind of do it twice here. In one of the earlier sections, they kind of jump up a note, some interval of maybe like a fourth or something. They'll throw in these notes that just really spice up the sort of arc-like melodies. They'll kind of, the harmonic slice at the moments they choose to do this helps support it better as well. They'll jump up like a third, fourth, or fifth, just in the middle of a melody, and it'll just really like catch your ear. They jump higher, but they also like to jump lower. And in this case, they kind of do the first a little bit, and then when they do the latter, it just really hits. I'm going to try to show exactly where it is. Right there. Da, 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 da. That note and how it's harmonized, it just sounds so good. And you could easily have written that melody without bothering to jump down there. You could have just stayed in the sort of stepwise motion in the arc. Da, 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 like something like that. But stepping down that much, I don't know, it gives it a little bit of a more unique flair, makes it a little bit more memorable, but it's not super easy to pull off. It's stepping a little bit outside of like what the template can be for melodic writing, and I really find I like it on a lot of these tracks that I've heard so far. Coming into the end here. Ooh, the echo on that. I wonder what words they're saying there. That was the most like speech-like that the choir had sounded the whole time. And in fact, I wasn't even sure how, like, whether this is a synthetic choir or a real one for a lot of it. Kind of curious. I feel like most of this soundtrack has sounded very live recorded, so I assume it probably still is, or at least recorded live, and some of it, you know, cut and used in ways to where it's the live recorded material, but it's reshaped in some ways, which is of course completely fair game depending on your approach to what track you're doing. Here it sounded so speech-like. I'm kind of curious what they're saying. Ah-ee-oh, that kind of sounds like what the vowel sounds are from there, but what the actual syllables are, who knows. It's definitely not they're definitely not saying Moebius, which would be funny because you know, that's the name of the track. It's definitely not that though. Anyways, We have reached the end. Yeah, it didn't loop. That's awesome. I mean, it's fine if things do loop, but it can be, and I keep bringing this up at different times, but it can be tricky as a reactor to know. Obviously, like totally fine and sometimes even super desired to listen to the same material again and kind of re-react to it or look a little deeper in the same video. That can be a really good thing. But it can be tricky when you don't know if you're doing it or not. It's kind of tough when it's like you're not sure if you're listening to the exact same stuff and your memory isn't perfect of what you just heard, and you're like, I don't know if this is a loop or not. And it gets kind of embarrassing when you're talking about it like it's new and it's not, or you're talking about it like it's a loop and it's not. You just get into trouble with that. In this case, yeah, definitely wasn't. It's funny because I saw another version of this that seemed like the same Moebius Battle, but was only like 3 minutes and change. And I almost did that one, but then I figured play it safe and stick with the same uploader I've done before and the one with way more views. When in doubt, I usually will pick the track that has the massive amount of view count because I figure that's the one that everybody looks at and wants to see, and probably the one that people are reacting to. And in this case, I think I picked the right one. I'm kind of curious what the other one was. If that was an entirely different track, might have made a huge mistake if I did that. Anyways, as always, well, as we do for the tracks that I especially like, no offense to those that don't make this, these are just the ones that I particularly for sure would want to hear again. In this case, where do I want to put this? Obviously, it was like rock orchestra. It could be under orchestrated energy. I mean, mechanical rhythm is here. I think it fits here. I almost want to like rename this or make a different titled section that's more specific about it being like rock orchestra, kind of JRPG dramatic music, which is, you know, that's my jam right there. But in this case, I think orchestrated energy fits, still fits well enough. Oh, why did it disappear? Whoa. Okay, some weird things are happening with my Notion here. Why does it keep... Everybody's seeing this, right? That was bizarre, but okay. We've almost got it. It keeps trying to paste back in something that was there before. I think we got it. Wait and see. Is it going to screw it up? Okay. I don't know what kind of glitch that was. Maybe I have it open somewhere else and it's trying to like reestablish the previous version in some way. Yeah, so now orchestrated energy full of Xenoblade. I'm sure it'll get other games eventually, but for now, as I, you know, do more tracks on my channel, some of these playlists are going to end up with a lot of the same music. I haven't done too much super nostalgic or retro stuff yet, so Fire Emblem 4 gets a lot because I've looked at that so much. Look forward to doing more that would fit in, say, the nostalgia kind of playlist. The Towns I Want to Live In playlist could definitely use more as well. The Forest Core still only has a few, but I'm still excited to do lots more for that. And I have some really good suggestions for it as well. Yeah, probably gonna follow up with a video on the Sanctuary stuff from Deltarune. Gonna do some more piano reactions because I do have a lot of stuff I want to listen to and figure I might as well. The one video I did on that actually did really well, and I'd like to see if those people are interested in more because I really do enjoy doing that because I do spend more of my time doing comparative listening with piano classical tracks rather than game music, even though that's kind of my second love. But yeah, thanks for watching. Just yapping a little bit at the end for those who care to stick around, and I will see you in my next video.